Hi, Michael Salas from Vantage Point Counseling, and I want to welcome you to our YouTube channel. And I was going to take a little time and talk about a common question that I get in couples therapy, but also in individual therapy, which is when is it time to call it quits? When is it time in a relationship to accept that the relationship's over? Unfortunately, a lot of times by the time somebody comes into relationship therapy, they their relationship's really at a crossroads. They're not sure a lot of times if they want to continue with it, and this isn't true for everybody, but for many it is. And so one of the things that they have to think about is, do they continue to put forth the effort that it's going to take for them to really come back together and find that connective space again, or are they going to just kind of need to go their separate ways in a cordial way? As a therapist, I always kind of have to give people that frustrating answer, which is, I can't really tell you what to do with your relationship. However, these are a couple of things that I do tell people to think about. Number one, what I really encourage people to think about is whether or not they have hope, whether or not in the relationship that they're in, that they have any hope that they can sort of rely on or use as a resource through the tough kind of journey that they might go on ahead. And if they say no, if they say that they don't have any hope, what they have to do at that point is start to look at one of two things. Is there any way to develop some hope? Is there any way to foster some hope? Or is that something that they're not really willing to do? And if there is no hope and they're not willing to foster it, it might be that it is best to kind of go their separate ways and just end things kind of where they're at. Another thing that I encourage people to do is to consider what the deal breakers are that they have. A lot of times in relationship therapy, couples therapy, there are a lot of things that, a person's looking to, both people are looking to negotiate and try to reconcile. However, there are things that a person is not willing to give up, a person's not willing to bend on, and that's not bad. It's just important to know what those things are. Couples that do very well are couples that are able to accept those things about the other person. However, if you look at it and you decide that these are things that you can't accept about the other person, you don't want to treat those things like they're still negotiable. What I mean by that is that if you are treating it like this is something that is still something that might change and there's no indication that it's going to change, and the other person's telling you it's not going to change, you have one of two paths in this situation. One of them is to accept it and try to find a way to move forward with it. And the other is to accept that you are unable to accept that. And in that kind of a situation, it might be that it is such a big deal that you do have to walk away. And that's a really hard thing. It's especially hard if you're in a relationship where there's not a lot of chaos and you really do still love and care about the other person. And you don't want the other person to hurt, and you're not sure about your own future as well, and you might not, there's a concern that you might not find somebody who's been as compatible as this person. Because of how tough that decision can be, what I tell people is to really take your time, but not take too much time, because if you take too much time, you're going to tend to build up resentment and become kind of a pain in the neck, and the other person will start to, resent you for that as well. And that's not good for anybody. So the bottom line of all of it, what I would say is, the one word that I would pull out of all of that would be acceptance. You have to accept how you feel about it, but at the same time, you also have to accept the other person. So you have to accept yourself, accept the emotions behind it, and accept what you need. If you're going to stay in the relationship, you have to accept the other person, what they bring to the table, and what they're willing to do, and what they want and need out of the situation as well. you also have to accept what they're not willing to do, and that can all be very tough. And so, out of all of that, acceptance seems to be the key, and the thing that I think you have to really think about. Regardless, I think it's important to note that this is tough. It's a tough decision. Take your time with it, and always just do the best you can. I hope this is helpful. It's complicated. Thank you for watching.